love it. Once you're comfortable with AI tools, or you kind of understand like the capabilities and the possibilities, and you're taking this leap into starting to build maybe your tech stack, what should proposal writers be looking for in their AI powered tools to make sure that they actually make their work easier and they're not making it more complicated? Like, do you have any safety suggestions for responsible AI use as well?
I think just making sure that the kind of proprietary data that your company has is not being leveraged in kind of unsafe practice ways. You never obviously want any of your personal or private or company IP data to be part of like the LLM. So that would be an example of something to just make sure from like a data privacy and a responsible AI perspective that none of your data is being sent directly to the LLM. So that would be one example. I think another thing to look at is just making sure the product has really great intuitive product design. So I think because AI is all the rage these days, a lot of product companies out there are in many ways trying to leverage AI in every kind of like way they possibly can. Whereas like AI is not always kind of that silver bullet answer for everything, right? So I think just making sure that the product uses AI in a very smart, intuitive, organic way and not trying to just force AI across everything across their product suite. So I think those are probably like the two things to definitely look out for. Kind of data privacy and security, responsibility regarding AI best practices, and then just making sure that the AI is being applied in an intuitive and organic way and not being forced down upon every single user.
I also love that. I popped into an SMPS session not long ago and they were talking about finding the problem and then the solution because I think what we tend to do is like see this shiny new thing and we just try and like shove it into our process and then it doesn't work and then we get frustrated and it's not actually the technology's fault. So I think putting those two things together of it being intuitive, but it also solving a real problem or creating a real efficiency within your process. Like you said earlier, like what are those manual tasks that you should be automating? You figure those out first and then figure out your solution.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, I always typically like to work backwards from the customer problem and really trying to solve their pain points. And if new technology solves that pain point in the best way possible, then we apply it then. It's not always, I think in tech, we tend to your point, gravitate towards new shiny technology and do the reverse, where we look at the technology and see where we can apply it, which I always think does not necessarily kind of produce the best results from like a product value or like user-centric kind of design approach. So typically for me, I always like to look at the problem and then work.
I love that. That's perfect. Softball question, maybe. How do you see AI working alongside tools like OpenAsset to streamline proposal workflows?
Yeah, really great segue from the previous question. And I think at the end of the day, it's really grounding ourselves on how we empower the AEC marketers. I think here at OpenAsset, we do a really great job of developing a lot of empathy for a marketer. You, Rochelle, do a really great job of always kind of keeping that user-centric design aspect of it and always keeping AEC marketers very much top of mind. So I think for us, it's not necessarily like seeing all the opportunities or ways to leverage AI. It's really, again, working backwards from the problem, working backwards to how can we empower AEC marketers? How do we save them time? How do we make their lives easier? How do we make them more efficient? And then see where AI can bring a lot of value in those areas. There's going to be lots of areas where we don't apply AI at all because there's just better ways to kind of tackle that problem. But for areas where we think AI can really innovate and kind of bring a lot of innovation and creativity to the problem space, that's where we'll apply it.
I also appreciate this, like, not AI for the sake of AI approach to things because I'm really tired of opening up tools that have added AI and I didn't need it.
It's so oversaturated these days that I think being able to use it in smart ways and not just use it for the sake of using it, I think is very top of mind for me these days.
Awesome. Couple more questions for you, Eric. If you could give one piece of advice to AEC proposal writers about preparing for an AI-driven future, what would it be?
Yeah, it's similar to kind of the response I gave to one of the earlier questions. For me, that my one advice would be about embracing the technology and using it as an asset, for lack of a better term, rather than seeing it as a threat. Because regardless of whether or not we embrace it or not, AI is here, and it's going to just get better and better with each passing day, with each passing week. So I think it's may not necessarily be wise to kind of resist it because again, its presence is already here and it's just getting better every single day. So embrace the technology, learn how to leverage it, learn how to use it, understand its strengths and weaknesses, and leverage it as an asset rather than seeing it as a threat. So I think that's probably the one good piece of advice I can give AEC proposal writers.
I think that's a really great piece of advice, and it feels AEC industry specific. It feels very much like the turning point that happened when Revit and building information modeling showed up, and kind of our hand drafters were resistant to adopt this new modeling technology. And we saw what happened to the firms who adopted it quickly and embraced it and saw that clients were going to be asking for it. And then how much catching up the rest of their competitors had to do. So I really like that, and I think we can learn lessons from our industry history there.
I think like in technology, history always repeats itself. And when you hear about like the Blockbuster versus Netflix example, or kind of like the Google versus Yahoo type of example, think of in the past in history when people are kind of resistant to embracing new technologies, they either are forced to at some point or just get kind of like, left to the wayside in many ways. So I think the more that we can understand the technology and embrace it and try and leverage it in a very meaningful way, I think
100% agree. And I want to shout out Brandy Wilkins-Catterer because she also gives a really good example of this in her data webinar. Not trying to plug all the webinars, but my goodness, there's some brilliant minds in them. But she talks about Amazon and Kodak and how they both approached technological revolutions and how that went for both of them. So 100%, we can learn so much. And if we pay attention, we'll do great things. One last question for you. We'll end on a positive high note. What excites you the most about the future of AI in AEC marketing?
such an open-ended question here. I think for me, it's really just like the endless possibilities, right? I think even in the past like 3 to 6 months, the advancements that I've seen in AI has been really amazing, right? Like there's things that we can accomplish and do today that we couldn't even do just a couple of months ago, right? So I think as the AI continues to get better and continues to get more capabilities and more kind of like value that it brings to the table, I think there's just so much innovation and creativity that we can bring to the AEC marketing space, specifically from a digital product perspective too. So I think for me, I'm just really excited at the capabilities that the technology has and just really excited to leverage it in a very smart and meaningful way and just bring as much value to our OpenAsset product suite as we possibly can. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm most excited about for the future of AI.
I like it. You're excited about the things that you don't know are here yet, which is very exciting because we don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
For all of you listening, be sure to tune into our next episode where we'll cover even more of your questions on AI, AEC marketing, and proposal writing best practices.